Hi, this is Will. So this video is going to be pretty much the ultimate guide, what you need to know about drop servicing. I see a lot of people out there just telling you go to Fiverr and drop service those Fiverr gigs, but please don't do that. You're not going to really be making money doing that. So in this video, I am going to tell you pretty much everything that you need about drop servicing. So what exactly is drop servicing, how you can start drop servicing that actually makes money, how to find good services, how to test those services out, all of the different tools that you need, and I'm going to give you a lot of hacks and just golden nuggets in the video, so make sure to watch the whole video. It's going to be very useful. By the way, there is a freebie template for you that you can put in on your website to have a website made for you right away, so check it out on description on my website. So let's start from the meaning of drop servicing, and I would say that drop servicing is selling services to customers that someone else actually does. So basically you get an order for a service that you are setting, you're putting that service on a website, and then someone else does that service, and you are basically the middleman that's connecting the two. So if you have heard about drop shipping, this is pretty much exactly the same thing, but instead of product, here you have a service, so that's the difference. So the way the business model works in here is very simple. You get whatever the amount is paid by the customer for that specific service, and then you deduct the costs for outsourcing and the cost for customer acquisition, whatever way you choose to do that, and whatever is left, that is your profit. So very simple concept. So why not Fiverr? Because I do see a lot of people saying that you should just use Fiverr for drop servicing, and yes, it is very simple because you have all of the services there already packaged very easily, and you don't really need to do that much work. But at the same time, the main problem I would say is that those services are very small services. So even if you're going to put in some sort of margin on top of those services when you're drop servicing, most likely it's not going to be that big. So maybe maximum you can make a couple $100s per one gig, per one service that you're selling. But if you're doing the other way that I'm going to explain later, you can put on a margin of few $100s or even couple $1,000s, so it's a lot bigger. And another thing, when you look at Fiverr, what it works really well for is one-time type of things. So it doesn't necessarily mean that's a bad thing, but also I'll show you later how it makes maybe more sense to have something that's more recurring and not just one-time payment. So small projects, small margins. I'm not saying it's not impossible to do it. You can definitely do it with Fiverr, but what I'm saying is it's going to be much harder, and you're not going to make as much money, to be honest, because a lot of people as well, if they will see those specific gigs that look like a Fiverr gig, they might just go to Fiverr. So you need to make sure that you can somehow distinguish yourself from the cheap Fiverr services, and I'll show you what you can do instead of that. By the way, if you are finding this video useful, make sure to smash the thumbs up button and subscribe to my YouTube channel. That would really be appreciated. So the right way to do this, so what I suggest you to do and what I have done before is actually finding freelancers instead of just going to Fiverr. So you don't just go and buy a gig, but instead of that, you go to a certain website that has really cheap outsourcing and you use those freelancers. So a couple of things that happens is, first of all, on Fiverr, you'll probably end up paying more money. So in this way, you will actually be able to have higher margins. And the other thing is, what you'll be able to do, you can find different projects that are much bigger projects than just the small Fiverr gigs, and you can also have a long-term clients from this. So when you find these, and again, what you can do, just as example, you can, let's say you see a gig for a WordPress design on Fiverr, and then you go and find a freelancer that does the whole thing for WordPress, the whole setup, all of that. So then you package that really nicely, you have a really nice website, all of that, and then you sell that as a premium service, as a whole package. And then instead of charging maybe $100 or $200, you can now be charging $1,000 or $2,000. So I'll tell you everything step by step, how exactly you do all of those things. But quickly before that, I just wanted to mention a few benefits if you are completely new to this, because I think it is actually a really great way to make money. So first of all, it has minimal cost to start. Honestly, this might be the cheapest way to start out a business right now. And I'll tell you later all of the different costs, but really you can start pretty much almost for free, or you just pay a few dollars. I think it's much cheaper than any other opportunity out there right now. Another thing is you don't need experience, and this is really the beautiful thing about this, because imagine if you would decide to be graphic designer, for example. You would spend a year or you would spend 2 years learning how to do graphic design, how to gain all of these different skills and all of that. And then eventually you would find out, once you're already gained those skills, you find out that, oh, it doesn't really pay that well, or it's kind of difficult in this market to find clients or whatever it is. And then you spend 2 years of your hard work for really nothing. Whereas with this, with drop servicing, because you don't actually need to acquire skills because someone else is going to do all of the work, it makes it so easy for you to test. You literally could test this in one day, and I'll show you how you can set up website really easy. So really you could have a really nicely set up website in a day, and then depending how you try to find clients, I would say obviously it's gonna take longer than a day realistically, but you could do that probably in a week. You could probably, and you could do multiple niches at the same time, multiple services at the same time. You could, whether you choose to maybe contact people or run ads, whatever it is, you could just test out a service in a week, and if it doesn't work, you move to the next idea until you find one that works really well, and then you just focus on that. So that is a huge benefit. It makes your life so much easier because you don't need to gamble. You can actually test things out. Another point that might seem a little bit strange for you, but taking advantage of salaries around the world. So what I mean by that is, a lot of people still up to this day, they're kind of used to hire locally, or they have different perceptions in terms of what kind of services they're getting. And I'm not going to go deep into this because I can already tell that it's hard to explain this, but the point is that, let's say you're getting a graphic designer from United States. It might cost you, let's say, $50 per hour to pay that graphic designer, and then you can find a graphic designer in the Philippines that only is going to cost you maybe $5 or $10 per hour. So it's at least 5 times less or even 10 times less, and their quality, their skills, quality of work might be the same, and work ethic might be the same. Usually actually, if someone's from Philippines, their work ethic is even better, to be honest. So the point really is that at this exact time, there's such a huge opportunity because not everyone is outsourcing yet, not everyone is taking advantage of this. So if you can be that middle person that actually takes advantage of the different salaries and using those skills for a cheaper price, then you can make a lot of money with this. Another really cool thing is, depending on what exactly you might also be thinking about doing, but with this, what I like is that usually when you, let's say if you're doing drop shipping, you most likely are going to be selling product once, and then sometimes you might have repeat customers, but it's not going to be as often. Whereas with this, it's quite likely that if you actually have good service, that you can have long-term customers and you have that recurring income, which is already always a really good thing to have. And as I said, it's really easy to test out niches, so that's a really beautiful thing about it. And one really cool thing as well is that you can build out a brand eventually. So honestly, I would say that be realistic at the beginning. You're not going to start out building out a brand because you will not have enough knowledge, and you need to work really fast. You need to do a lot of testing and all of that. So as the time goes by, you're going to be improving your services and you're going to develop better relationships with different customers and all of that. And then eventually, if you really find one service that works really well for you, you can actually turn that from just drop servicing into a proper brand. So this has potential to actually be you being able to create a really big brand out of it. So really quick, a few things that you can drop service if you haven't quite understood the idea yet. First of all, design. So website design, social design, brand, different designs for a brand, all of that. Copywriting, market research, social media management, video editing, even such thing as customer support. So really pretty much anything out there that you can find that people need, you can drop service those services. All right, so now to the good part, and that is finding a service. So this is a whole video itself, and I honestly could talk for hours about this thing alone, so I'll just go really quick and give you a couple of ideas so you get a basic idea of how to find a service. So a lot of different methods. First of all, you could, I said not to drop service gigs from Fiverr, but you could go to Fiverr and see what type of services are working really well, and then see how you can expand on that. So as I said before, if you see that someone's doing, let's say, WordPress design, then perhaps you can do a whole setup for a WordPress website, so including all the design, SEO, all the plugins, all that kind of stuff. So that could be an idea. Another thing that's sort of similar to this is to go to some of these freelancer websites and see what the best performing freelancers are doing and what kind of services they're selling. Those are some of the best ideas. And you can also do it the opposite way around, where you go to those websites, and not all of them, but some of them, they have job postings. So just see what kind of jobs are being posted a lot, and which ones are being, the best paid jobs. So see some of that. You will, after some time you're looking at those, you will see what is likely a good opportunity. Little hack I will give you here is that you can also just narrow down a niche. So what I mean by this is, let's say you want to drop service graphic design. So instead of just doing general graphic design for everyone, really narrow it down to a niche such as yogis. So a lot of yogis, they are now opening different websites, whether they want to teach yoga or perhaps they want to sell products or whatever exactly it is. So what you can be specifically a design agency, graphic design agency for yogis. So if they find your agency, think about it. Would they choose just a general design agency, or would they choose an agency that specifies in yogis? I'm pretty sure they would choose the second. So this is one very, very powerful tip that you can really just find a good service and narrow down for a specific niche, and after that you can always expand. So you can start with this, and don't worry, because it might not be a huge market, but just get 100% of the small market and then focus on expanding. And another really cool hack for you is to find fast-growing agencies, fast-growing companies, and see what kind of services they are providing. If they're growing really fast, then that indicates that there is good potential for those kind of services. So the next step is to actually test the service, and I feel like a lot of people skip this step. They don't think about it, but it's actually really, really important. So first of all, obviously just go to Google Trends and see whether the demand for this is increasing or it's decreasing. Obviously you want something that's increasing over time. I don't think I need to explain that. And then go and see how competition is doing. So how much competition there is. So in terms of SEO, if you go to Google, how many different services are ranking there? Is there a lot of competition? Maybe you can compete with some of the companies. Again, what the action is like on social media, what the action is like on paid media, so how many different ads there are, and so on. So just to see how difficult it's going to be for you to compete with other agencies. Another thing that a lot of people discard is see if there are actually successful competitors. So competition isn't necessarily bad. You want to have some competitors, not too many, but you want to have some that are actually successful, because that shows you that it's basically a proof of concept that this service is actually something that people want and you can actually be successful with it. So find someone that is successful within the service. So lastly, I would say find some exact numbers. So yes, you can look around and honestly you will get a pretty good feel of what it looks like, but I would really advise, if you're serious about this, find some exact numbers. So what exactly is the search number for that specific service? How much do you need to pay for ads if that's the way you're going to go? How much are these agencies charging for those services, and how much profit are different companies making? So see the exact numbers if that is possible, and obviously from that also calculate your costs, how much is going to cost for you to acquire customers, outsource, and all of that. Basically just really know your numbers. Alright, so once you have figured all of that out, the next step is you need to build a website. So first of all, you will need a domain name, which you can buy in just 2 minutes. Then you will need somewhere to host your website. So honestly, what I would advise is just have WordPress. So basically you need to get a hosting and you need to get WordPress. And if you are scared just by hearing this, believe me, it is very, very, very simple. The setup literally takes maybe 5 to 10 minutes. And I'll leave all the useful links down below in the description. But believe me, it's very, very simple to do that. What I would really advise is to get a professional theme. There is this theme that I absolutely love. It's amazing. You can customize everything on the front end, so you don't need to know how to write code or anything like that. It's really simple to use, and they have a lot of templates and whatnot. I'll leave a link down below in the description. I would really advise it just because it's going to save you up a lot of time, and you can build out a really professional looking website in literally 1 day. And if you really don't have money, then you can go with a free theme. That's fine, it's still going to work, but honestly I would just advise to invest a little bit of money and get something that's going to save you a lot of time. Another way that you could go about doing this, if you don't want to do WordPress, you could use something like Lead Pages, which basically allows you to create a different sales funnel, and that is also very simple to use and very easy to set up, and it actually works really well. Honestly, I would advise to get WordPress and use Lead Pages with WordPress together. So use both of those. But also, if you want to start very simple, you can use separately one or the other option. I see some people talking that you should be using Shopify for this to sell those services. Technically, you could do that, but I honestly don't see the point of doing that. When you think about how much you're also paying for Shopify, I don't really see the point, and you can't really customize that much, or well, it's really difficult compared to WordPress to customize things. So I would really not advise to do that. But besides that, when selling the services, you will need somehow to charge money. So again, you can actually have an e-commerce type of integration. So for WordPress, you can have WooCommerce, or Lead Pages already have integration themselves. So basically you can have a service that people just press a button and they purchase that service right away. Or what you can do also, you can send invoices for the services, and there are some free ways to do that. You can honestly just use PayPal and send invoice through PayPal, but there are some other programs that are a little bit more professional. So depending what exactly you need, there are a lot of different services for that. Once you have your website, the next thing is getting email service. So what this is a private email. So what this is, instead, let's say, of having your company at gmail.com, you're going to have info@yourcompany.com. So basically a professional email address. That's what private email address is. And then after that, I would suggest that you get some sort of email automation service. And again, I will leave a link for my favorite service down below. It's really great. You can start for free. You don't need to pay any money or anything. So this comes in really well if, let's say, you want to set up some sort of email automation that you are sending out your potential clients, or even clients that you already have signed up, or if you want to, let's say, collect your leads. So again, you can create different pop-ups and sign up forms and all of that and collect emails, and then again you can have different automations based on different actions that you are sending out those leads and convert them into customers. So definitely be using email. So once you have your whole setup done, then you need to actually find some freelancers who are going to do those services for you. And again, there is one website that I absolutely love that I use most of the time, and again, I will leave the link down below in the description. But basically what this website allows you to do is you pay one-time fee and you get connection to all of these freelancers that are very cheap, and then you just work with those freelancers. So instead of other platforms, you don't need to pay per every project that you're working, but once you're connected with the freelancer, you are just working with them. One really great hack that I have learned throughout the years is ask the freelancers to commit for a minimum time. So what this means is that, let's say, when I first start working with someone, I will ask them to be available to commit at least 10 hours per week if that is required. So what this means is I'm not telling them, and usually I approach this like we're just starting out, so I want to test it out, I want to test the waters to see how exactly it's going to go like. So I'm not telling them that I'm going to give them a certain amount of work. And by the way, a lot of people, I feel like they approach this thinking that, oh, I need to hire someone full-time, so I need to invest a lot of money and I'm taking risks. But you don't take any risks like this, because what essentially you're doing, let's say a client, you sell some sort of service, the service comes in, then you contact the freelancer and you tell them, okay, I need you to do this service for me, and you told me that you're going to be able to commit at least 10 hours per week. So even if you're working on other things, you promise me that you'll find some time to do this as well. And if you don't have any service, then you were already upfront about it, that it might take you a minute to give them some sort of work, so the freelancer is not going to be mad about that as well. I think that is a really good approach that has worked for me for quite a while. On top of that, what I also suggest to do is get more than one freelancer, because sometimes you might get more work than you expected, and then that one freelancer might not be able, especially if you're not hiring them full-time, that one freelancer might not be able to do all of the work. So have a couple different freelancers just in case. And also you want to have them because you can actually test out which one works better. And that's kind of the segment to the next tip, which is get a tracking software. This is honestly, if you don't use one yet, this is going to change your life. One of the best investments I've ever made. Again, I'll put a link to my favorite one. And this is amazing because it tracks everything that is done for you. So it tracks all of the time, and then you can even get screenshots of the people to see what exactly work they do. And this is very useful to A, see if they're actually doing the work they're supposed to do, and B, to just see their workflow as well. And then you can see if someone is doing something wrong, and you can actually give them some points how to change things to be more efficient and how to do things better. And then this is also where you can test out exactly how much time it takes for people to do certain projects, and then you can get rid of the people that are doing the projects really slow and be left with the ones that are doing the projects really fast and really well. So tracking software, I think, is really a must. Also, on top of that, you should get a management software, because it's simply going to allow you to get everything organized really well and just work with your team a lot easier. And believe me, you can't just start out simply messaging people, but honestly, honestly, I would say right off the bat, just get a task management software, because it's just going to make everything a lot more clear, and it's going to avoid you from making a lot of mistakes, and it's going to save you a lot of time. So believe me, it's going to help you out quite a bit. All right, once we got all of that done, then we actually need to find the clients, and this is probably the most difficult part that people struggle with. And again, this would be a completely different videos that you can talk hours and hours about, so I'll just tell you quickly a few ideas to get sort of a perspective of how you can find different clients. So first of all, what you can do, what's pretty popular, is simply finding businesses and just cold calling them, cold emailing them, or cold messaging them. Basically somehow trying to establish a conversation with them, and then eventually trying to sell your services to them. So it's not the easiest way per se, and it's not super automated unless you again are outsourcing this, but it doesn't cost anything for you to do this, and you can even go on, let's say, LinkedIn, and you can find people through there, or you can even go to Facebook groups and message people through Facebook. So you can really, if you have no money, this is a really easy way to start out. Another very popular way to find clients is by running ads. So you can do something like Google Ads, where if someone is looking for a specific service, you can put an ad in front of them, so they're going to come across your service. And then within your website, you need to make sure that you're converting those clients, potential clients, into actual clients. Another thing that you can do is create content funnels, and this is quite a big topic, so I'm not going to explain too much, but basically in a nutshell, this is creating certain content through which you are getting traffic, and then you're warming up traffic, and through the content you are acquiring leads, and then eventually you're turning those leads into actual customers. Lastly, you could just be using job websites. So the same websites that have those freelancers, you could actually just post your different services on those websites. And if you have everything packaged really nicely and really looking professional, that could be a good way to start out and make your first connections. And then from there, sometimes you will just get referrals if you're actually doing good work. So that is also one of the many different options. Again, not going to go into all of these. Let me know if you want me, I will make separate videos on just these. So the total costs, because I know that is very important when you are just starting out. So first of all, domain, that's going to cost you $10. Then you need hosting, and if you're using WordPress as I suggested to do, then you need hosting, and hosting can be really cheap. You can find a thing hosting for as cheap as $4 a month. I usually get a little bit more upgraded hosting just because I do believe that you need to invest money to make money, so I kind of get the best. But if you just want to start out, you can get something as cheap as $4 a month. The theme that I recommend to build really beautiful websites, that costs $89. So that's a little bit higher cost that you need to put in to begin with. But honestly, when I think about how much time it saves me and what beautiful websites I can build with that, I would definitely recommend to invest that. But again, that isn't necessary. If you're really low on cash, you can start with a free theme. Email, private email is going to cost you $10. There's a really good service that I use that I think it must be the cheapest service out there. So the first 2 months actually don't cost anything, and after that it costs $10 per year. So it's really cheap. I'll leave a link for that below. If you decide to go with lead pages, then that is, well, there are a couple different options. First of all, you have 14-day free trial, so you can actually really start out with this completely for free with lead pages if you want to test it out. And after that, if you're signing up for annual plan, then they have $15 monthly plan, and then if you are signing up just monthly basis, then the first plan with the simplest plan starts from $37 per month. And the last cost that you need to consider is your customer acquisition, and Obviously, this depends depending on how you want to acquire those customers. So there are some free methods, as he said, where you can try to sell your services. Then again, you can be running ads and all of that. So that really depends on what exactly you want to do. But in general, as you can tell, the costs here are very minimal. So the last few tips before I finish. First of all, know your margins and acquisition costs. This is what I see a lot of people forget about. Be really sure about what exactly you can charge and how much it's going to cost you to acquire a customer. Try to find out a recurring service, so a service that people are going to come back and order again. If you can find something like that, it's going to make your life so much easier. It's so much easier to get money from already existing customer rather than get a completely new customer. Also, again, just want to emphasize at the beginning, really narrow it down to a specific niche and then expand it from there. If you know the topic the service that you're getting into, that can help out quite a bit. But again, the beauty in this is that it's not even necessary to do that. And lastly, as I said, just track everything and really test things out. So even if you think you found a good service, just go further and try out other things and see, maybe you can find something that's even much better, and use the different softwares that help you to track things. So really hope that you found this video useful. If you did, press thumbs up, put on those notifications if you want to see more videos like this. Let me know if you want me to make something more in terms of drop shipping itself. Maybe you want me to do some sort of case studies or something like that. Stay awesome, and I'll see you soon.